Folks trying to pay the rent are having a tough time keeping up. That's all thanks to a recent trend, seeing prices in the lower to middle income neighborhoods keep rising. Rentals in more expensive locations are falling, however. Fox's Mike Allen joins us live now to explain.
Yeah, so Jacqueline, you might remember last month I reported on a study that showed Las Vegas, the Vegas area, has seen the biggest decrease in rental prices in the entire country. Since then, over the last several weeks, I've gotten lots of messages from folks asking where this decrease is happening, because it's not anywhere near them. Tonight, I found out where.
It's tough. The market is tough.
Las Vegas area realtor Michelle Gamble is worried about a recent trend that's seeing lower and middle income neighborhoods get more expensive at a faster rate than wealthier areas.
I've had clients who came in to Nevada. They moved here about 4 years ago where they were paying like $900 a month. Now their rent is up $1,500 to $1,600 and no upgrades.
The higher end rents are coming down quite a bit. The lower end to mid-range rents are staying steady, going up maybe a little bit.
Fellow realtor Steve Hawks tells me one of the causes could be the low interest rates that buyers took advantage of during the pandemic.
Many sellers are no longer selling their home to buy another. Instead, they're renting their home out because their interest rate is so low and their payment is so low.
That's creating more rental inventory, especially on the higher end of the price range. Hawks says another factor that's putting upward pressure on prices at the lower end is that hedge funds have been buying lots of affordable housing, something he says has completely changed the real estate game in just 10 years.
They pretty much control the rental market in that arena under 500, but they by far have the most rentals.
Gamble says that as prices for once affordable units keep increasing, many families are being priced out of neighborhoods they used to be able to afford.
I've had clients who had excellent credit, make substantial amount of income monthly, and they were unable to get approved for these rentals.
This is what happens when you have big corporate America come in and buy single family houses where people can't rent, people can't buy. What does that do? It causes prices to go up. It causes rents to go up. That's the number one problem right there.
21% of Nevada renters, that's more than a fifth, are considered extremely low income. That's according to the National Low Income Housing Coalition. Reporting live tonight, Mike Allen, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
And as some people in the valley are struggling to afford the rent, Clark County is actually announcing a new $70 million investment in affordable housing. We'll have all the details tonight at 10:30.